You shouldn't have been near my son. Who gave you permission to speak to him?" The voice, a blade of serrated steel, cuts through the sterile chaos of the penthouse foyer. Julian Croft stands drenched in the intermittent, ghostly white strobes of paparazzi cameras flashing against the floor-to-ceiling windows. Outside, a tempest rages over the city, but inside, a more personal storm has just made landfall. His face, usually a mask of curated indifference for magazine covers, is a canvas of raw fury. His lawyers, 3 men in identical charcoal suits, stand a step behind him, a phalanx of silent, expensive disapproval. Anya holds his gaze. She doesn't flinch. Her heart beats a hard, steady rhythm against her ribs, a metronome in the symphony of disorder. Just moments before, she was the calm center of this vortex, her voice a low, steady current directing her junior staff. "Maria, secure the West Service entrance. Thomas, draw the blackout shades in the South Gallery. No one else gets in." Her instructions were whispers of order against the rising tide of panic that had swept through the residence when the first tabloid link was sent. Now, that order is shattered. Croft's accusation sucks the air from the room. Every staff member freezes. Maria, hand on a brass door handle, turns pale. Thomas, halfway up a rolling library ladder, stops cold. They are all watching. They are all witnesses to her evisceration. "This is your fault," Croft repeats, stepping closer. The faint, clean scent of ozone from his rain-soaked coat hits her. He stabs a finger not at her but in her general direction, as if the act of touching her is beneath him. "Everything, the leak, the pictures, the narrative, it all started with you." Anya's hands are clasped loosely in front of her, a posture of professional neutrality she has perfected over 7 years of service in the homes of the powerful and volatile. It is a posture that makes her seem smaller, less threatening, a ghost in the machine of their lives. Her uniform is immaculate, a crisp, gray tunic over black trousers, practical, elegant, and designed to be forgotten. She is the household supervisor, the silent architect of a world that runs so smoothly its owners never have to consider the mechanics. Her job is to be invisible, and she is very, very good at it. Until now. Now she is painfully visible, the focal point of a billionaire's rage. She can feel the weight of a dozen pairs of eyes, 100 invisible judgments, settling on her shoulders. To be blamed for a fire you didn't start, in a house you only maintain. Would you endure this? To stand perfectly still while your name is burned to ash? "Mr. Croft," she begins, her voice even, betraying none of the tremor that has started in her core. "Don't," he snaps, cutting her off. "Don't you dare say my name. You are staff. You are not family. You are a function, a role, a line item on a budget. And you have forgotten that." The words are meant to strip her of her humanity, to reduce her to a utility. She sees the calculation in his eyes. He needs a target, a simple, clean explanation for a complicated, messy problem. And she is it. The maid who got too close. It's a classic, ugly story, one that the world will swallow without a second thought. The powerful man, the vulnerable child, and the hired help who overstepped. It's a narrative as old as the marble under her feet. A phone buzzes insistently in his lawyer's hand. The man, whose name Anya knows is Marcus Thorne but who has never once looked her in the eye, glances at the screen. He gives a barely perceptible shake of his head to Croft. Bad news. Croft's jaw tightens. The public humiliation isn't working fast enough. He needs a confession, an admission of guilt to stanch the bleeding. His own crisis management protocol, a document Anya herself helped draft, dictates the first step: isolate and contain the source of the breach. He is following his own rules, and he has decided she is the breach. She doesn't look away from his cold, gray eyes. She thinks of his son, Leo. A quiet, 7-year-old boy with eyes too old for his face, who flinches at loud noises and prefers the company of books to people. She thinks of the incident that Croft is twisting into a weapon, a moment of simple, human comfort she had offered the child. A moment that was photographed, stolen, and sold to the highest bidder. Her silence seems to infuriate him more than any denial would. He is a man accustomed to reactions, to tears or fear or pleading. Anya offers none. She simply stands, a pillar of quiet dignity in the wreckage of his morning. Her stillness is a question he can't answer. It is a mirror reflecting a rage so profound it can only be his own. "Get her out of my sight," he finally says, turning his back on her as if the matter is settled. He walks toward the grand staircase, his lawyers trailing in his wake like sharks. The command hangs in the air, an order without an executioner. The other staff members remain frozen, caught between loyalty to their supervisor and fear of their employer. For a long moment, the only sounds are the clicking of cameras from the street below and the steady drumming of rain against the glass. Anea doesn't move. She knows this is only the beginning. The accusation was the first wave. The tide is still coming in. The storm outside passes, leaving the city air washed clean and the light sharp. Inside the penthouse, the atmosphere remains thick with the residue of Julian Croft's rage. He is gone, sequestered in his top-floor office with his legal team, but his words linger in the foyer like a toxic vapor. The junior staff, previously frozen, now move with a hesitant, jerky energy, avoiding Anea's eyes as if her disgrace is contagious. Marcus Thorne, the lead lawyer, descends the staircase. He moves with a predatory smoothness, his polished shoes making no sound on the marble. He stops before Anea, his gaze clinical, assessing. He doesn't see a person, he sees a problem to be managed. "Anea," he says, his voice a low purr of condescension. "Mr. Croft is under significant pressure. I'm sure you understand." He pauses, expecting a nod, a sign of contrition. Anea offers none. She simply waits, his lips thin into a bloodless line. He reaches into his jacket pocket and produces her laminated visitor badge. The one Croft had ripped from her uniform. The plastic is slightly bent. Her name, Anea Mbogo, and her title, Household Supervisor, are printed in stark, functional letters beneath a bland, passport-style photo. He holds it between his thumb and forefinger as if it's a distasteful specimen. "Mr. Croft feels your position here has become untenable," Thorne continues. He sees this, he waggles the badge, as a symbol of a trust that has been broken. "You are a visitor in this home, a guest, in a sense, who has overstayed her welcome." The public humiliation continues, quieter this time, but more insidious. Croft's fury was a wildfire. Thorne's disdain is a creeping frost. He is codifying the insult, turning it into official policy. He places the badge on the marble console table with a soft click, a final, dismissive gesture. "Your presence is a liability," he adds. "A loose end." Anea looks at the badge. For 7 years, it has been a part of her uniform, a simple tool of access. She designed the system it belongs to, a network of scanners and logs that tracks every vendor, guest, and staff member who moves through the 20,000-square-foot property. It was a system built for security, for order, for the protection of the very family that was now casting her out. She had created it to make everyone, especially young Leo, safer. And now, it was being used as the symbol of her otherness, her disposability. The irony is so bitter it almost makes her want to laugh. She feels the gazes of her staff on her back. They are good people, people she hired and trained, people whose small crises she managed and whose triumphs she celebrated. But they are also people with rent to pay and families to feed. They cannot afford to stand with her. She is alone. The system is designed for this, to isolate any part that malfunctions. If that happened to you, what would you do? Accept the label, or use their own definitions as the key to unlock the cage. Anea glances at the security console near the main entrance, its small green light blinking with placid regularity. The system is still running. The logs are still recording. Thorne thinks the badge is just a piece of plastic. He doesn't understand. It's not just a symbol. It's a key, and it's a record. The meeting takes place in the library, a room lined with thousands of books that Anea knows for a fact have never been opened. The air smells of leather and lemon polish. It's a room designed to project intelligence and gravitas, and today it is being used as an interrogation chamber. Anea sits on one side of a vast mahogany desk. Marcus Thorne and a younger, more nervous lawyer sit on the other. Thorne slides a sleek black tablet across the polished surface. The screen glows with the dense, intimidating text of a legal document. "As I said, Mr. Croft is prepared to be generous," Thorne says, the word generous dripping with unspoken threats. "He is offering a severance package, 6-month salary. In return, you will sign a standard non-disclosure agreement with an addendum. He taps the screen, enlarging a specific section. The addendum. Anaya reads the crisp digital words. It is a confession. It states that due to her personal negligence and unauthorized interaction with the minor, a significant security breach occurred, leading to the tabloid leak. It absolves Julian Croft and Croft Industries of all liability. It is a lie, packaged as a legal formality. Sign this, Thorne says, his voice leaving no room for negotiation, and this all ends. You walk away with a comfortable cushion and we handle the press. We will, of course, require you to be out of your staff apartment by the end of the day. The younger lawyer shifts, looking down at his own tablet. He can't meet her eyes. He knows what this is. It is a bludgeon wrapped in a severance check. And if I don't sign? Anaya asks, her voice quiet. Thorne leans back, a faint, predatory smile gracing his lips. Then we will be forced to pursue legal action. For breach of contract, endangerment, and defamation, we will sue you for damages. Mr. Croft's resources for litigation are, as you might imagine, infinite. Yours, I imagine, are not. We will take everything. Your savings, your reputation, your future. The trap is laid bare. Her choice is between two forms of destruction, a quiet erasure with a pocketful of silver, or a loud, public annihilation that will leave her with nothing. This is the no-way-back moment. The decision she makes in this room will define the rest of her life. The ticking clock is the custody hearing, now less than 48 hours away. Croft needs this signed statement to use as ammunition against his ex-wife. Anaya is not just a scapegoat for the press. She is a pawn in their vicious marital war. She looks at the glowing screen, at the words designed to bury her. She thinks of Leo, of the trust in his eyes. Signing this would not just be an act of self-preservation. It would be a betrayal of that boy, validating his father's cruelty and leaving him in the care of a man who uses his own child as a chess piece. She slides the tablet back across the desk. No, she says, just one word. Thorne's smile vanishes. The air in the room turns cold. The battle is no longer a threat. It has begun. The shift in Marcus Thorne's demeanor is immediate. The pretense of civility evaporates, replaced by a cold, functional hostility. Very well, he says, standing. Security will escort you to your quarters. You will have 1 hour to pack a personal bag. The rest of your belongings will be forwarded to you. He believes he has won. He has cornered her, isolated her, and is now ejecting her from the board. But he has made a critical error. He has underestimated her. As the two security guards, men she hired, approach with apologetic eyes, Anaya speaks, her voice ringing with newfound, startling authority. Before I am removed, she says, looking directly at the younger lawyer, the one who couldn't meet her gaze, I need to make a formal statement for the record. Thorne scoffs. You have nothing for the record. On the contrary, Anaya replies, her calm unwavering. Mr. Thorne, you have just made me a party to an ongoing legal dispute involving the custody of a minor. By your own admission, my alleged actions are central to Mr. Croft's case. Therefore, under family law discovery rules, I am entitled to review all relevant documents pertaining to the child's welfare and guardianship protocols. She pauses, letting the words sink in. I require a full, unredacted copy of the active custody agreement between Mr. Croft and his former spouse, filed with the court, effective today. Please have it sent to my legal counsel. She doesn't have legal counsel yet, but they don't know that. The younger lawyer's eyes widen. Thorne is momentarily speechless. They expected hysterics, pleading. They did not expect a calm, precise recitation of legal procedure from the household supervisor. Anaya isn't finished. She turns her head slightly to address one of the guards. Frank, before you escort me out, please fulfill one last work order. The central server logs for all digital access points, security cameras, and badge scanners for the entire property, dating back 30 days. I want them backed up to the off-site cloud server in a triple redundant time-stamped archive. Use my override code, Alpha 9er72. It's an order she put in place for emergencies, a fire, a flood, a catastrophic system failure, or a betrayal. Frank, a former police officer, nods instinctively, his training kicking in. He recognizes a command from someone who knows what they're doing. For the first time, a flicker of uncertainty appears in Thorne's eyes. This is not the panicked, compliant maid he was expecting. Her foresight, her calm command of the system she built, is a variable he did not account for. She is not just fighting back. She is using the very tools of the house against its owner. A small, almost imperceptible win, but it is enough. It is a spark. The staff apartment is small but elegant, one of the perks of her position. Now it feels like a cage. As she packs a small bag with essentials, her mind flashes back to last Tuesday. Not to the screaming headlines and the invasive photographs, but to the quiet reality of the moment itself. It was late afternoon. A heavy, oppressive silence had fallen over the penthouse, the kind that always followed one of Croft's explosive phone calls with his ex-wife. Anaya was doing her final walkthrough of the day when she heard it, a small, muffled sob coming from the playroom. She found Leo huddled in a reading nook, his small body shaking. He had tripped while running, and a large, ornate wooden globe had toppled over, its stand cracking one of the floor tiles. It wasn't a serious accident, but in this house, any mistake, any imperfection felt like a monumental failure. Leo was terrified of his father's reaction. "I broke it," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. "Dad will be mad." Anaya knelt beside him. She didn't say it's okay. In Leo's world, things were rarely okay. Instead, she spoke the truth. "Yes, it is broken," she said softly, "and your father might be upset, but you are not broken, and you are safe." She gently checked his knee, which was scraped but not bleeding badly. She dabbed it with a tissue. He flinched, not from the touch, but from the expectation of anger. She saw the deep, ingrained anxiety in him, the constant state of high alert that was his normal. To distract him, to bring him back to the present moment, she began to hum. It was a simple, wordless lullaby from her childhood in Kenya, a melody of soft, rolling cadences that spoke of wide open spaces and quiet evenings. "Lala Mtoto, Lala," the memory of her grandmother's voice echoed in her mind. "Sleep, child, sleep." Leo's crying subsided. He leaned into her, his small head resting against her shoulder. She wrapped her arms around him, not as an employee, but as one human being offering comfort to another. She felt the tension leave his body. It was in that moment of quiet sanctuary that the world intruded. A long-lens camera, positioned in a building across the street, captured the image. They hadn't captured a breach of protocol. They had captured the one thing this house was starved of, a moment of unconditional care. This is the memory she holds onto as she zips her bag. It is the core of her resolve. This isn't about a job or a lawsuit. It's about that small, trembling boy. It's about the truth of a moment that has been twisted into a weapon, and she is the only one left to defend it. If you were there, would you step closer or stay silent? Anaya sits at a small desk in a pay-by-the-hour workspace downtown, the anonymity a welcome shield. The PDF of the custody agreement glows on her laptop screen. It's 72 pages of dense legalese, a fortress of words. She reads it once, then twice, her mind sharp and focused, filtering the jargon, searching for the weapon they intend to use against her. And then she finds it. Clause 11.4. It's written in both English and French, as is the entire document, a nod to the ex-wife's French-Canadian heritage. The English version is stark. Any unvetted, third-party interaction with the minor, defined as any individual not legally serving as guardian or an agent thereof, must be digitally logged by the primary guardian within 1 hour of occurrence, under penalty of default of the day's custodial rights. It's a bear trap. Anaya is the unvetted third party. The interaction was not logged by Croft. By this definition, he could argue to a judge that his ex-wife, who was technically the custodial guardian that day, was negligent, and that Anaya's presence constituted a violation. But something feels wrong. The language is too specific, too perfectly tailored to the events of last Tuesday. It feels less like a pre-existing rule and more like a post-facto justification. This is where her suspicion meets her methodical nature. Her mind goes to the system she built. Every document on the Croft family's private server is subject to version control. Every change is logged, time-stamped, and immutable. Croft and his lawyers may control the court filings, but they don't control the source code of their own lives. Not the part she built anyway. Using a secure VPN and her old, high-level administrative credentials, which, in their haste to fire her, they had forgotten to revoke from the deep system level, she accesses the server's backend. She navigates to the folder containing all legal drafts. She finds the master document for the custody agreement, and she opens the revision history. Her breath catches. The document was accessed and amended at 6:47 p.m. last Tuesday. A new clause, 11.4, was added. She cross-references the time with her own phone records. The first tabloid link had been sent to the head of PR at 4:30 p.m. The photo of her and Leo was taken at approximately 3:15 p.m. The trap wasn't just laid for her. It was built after the fact, a legal fiction created to match a photograph. Croft hadn't just found a rule to use against her. He had written one, and he had backdated it. She takes a screenshot of the metadata, her heart pounding with the cold, clear certainty of the truth. She sees the whole chessboard. She knows his next move. And now, she knows hers. Armed with irrefutable proof, Anaya's first instinct is to go through official channels. She believes, perhaps naively, that the system, when presented with clear evidence of manipulation, will correct itself. She calls the main number for the Croft Industries Human Resources Department, a sprawling, faceless entity located in a downtown skyscraper. She gets a junior case manager on the phone, a young woman whose voice is bright with practiced corporate empathy. Anaya explains the situation calmly and logically, referencing her employment record, the NDA she was pressured to sign, and the evidence of document tampering she has uncovered. The response is a masterclass in institutional deflection. "I understand your concerns, Miss Mbogo," the voice chirps, "but employee disputes of this nature need to be submitted through the proper channels. Have you filled out a grievance form?" "This isn't a grievance," Anaya insists. "This is evidence of unethical and likely illegal activity being orchestrated by Mr. Croft's legal team." There's a pause. The bright empathy in the voice is replaced by a chilly caution. "We take all allegations seriously. However, you are no longer an active employee. I would have to refer this to our legal department. They will review it and get back to you in due course." Anaya knows exactly what that means. The system is not designed to find truth. It is designed to protect power. Her evidence will be buried in a mountain of digital paperwork, reviewed by the very lawyers who are complicit in the scheme. The door has just been politely, but firmly, shut in her face. An hour later, a final brutal email arrives. It's a formal notice of her termination for cause, citing gross misconduct and violation of privacy protocols. Attached is a cease and desist letter, warning her against any further contact with employees of Croft Industries or members of the Croft family. Her keycard is deactivated. Her health insurance is canceled. Her final paycheck will be mailed. She has been completely and utterly excised. She sits in the sterile quiet of the rented workspace, the weight of the institutional machine pressing down on her. She is alone, officially jobless and legally threatened. This is the moment where most people would give up. The fight is too big, the opponent too powerful. Have you ever seen a rule used like a weapon? A system bending its own logic to crush a single person? Anaya closes her laptop. The despair is a cold, heavy thing in her chest, but beneath it, something else is hardening, a quiet, unyielding resolve. They think they have silenced her, they think they have erased her, but they have only stripped her of her illusions. She closes her eyes and makes a silent vow. She will not be buried, she will not be broken, she will be heard. Anaya knows she cannot fight this battle alone. The next morning, she takes the subway to a modest brick building with a simple brass plaque that reads, "Everwood and Associates, Family Law." She doesn't know them, but an online search revealed they had a reputation for taking on tough cases against powerful people. She meets with a woman named Sarah Everwood, a lawyer in her late 50s with sharp, intelligent eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Anaya lays out her story, not with emotion but with the cool precision of a systems analyst. She doesn't just present a narrative, she presents a timeline, data, and evidence. She places her laptop on Sarah's desk. "Here is the custody agreement PDF that was sent to me. And here," she says, clicking open a file, "is the screenshot of the server's revision history for the master document. Note the timestamp of the amendment that added clause 11.4. Sarah leans forward, her eyes narrowing as she studies the screen. Anaya continues, opening another file. "Here are the server logs for the house security system, which I had backed up before my access was revoked. They show all entries and exits from the nursery wing. And here," she pulls the slightly bent laminated badge from her purse and places it on the desk, "is the source of the timestamp data. My badge." Sarah picks up the badge. She looks from the metadata to the security logs, her expression shifting from skepticism to intense focus. She sees the connections, the elegant, undeniable logic of the evidence. Anaya hasn't just brought her a suspicion, she has brought her a completed puzzle. "They never thought to check the logs," Sarah says, a slow smile spreading across her face. "They built a beautiful, airtight legal trap, but they forgot to check if the foundation was solid. They were so focused on you, the person, they forgot about you, the architect. This is the threshold. Anaya has found her champion. The plan they formulate is not about a dramatic, emotional outburst in court. It is about a quiet, methodical dismantling of a lie. Anaya will not be a victim on the stand. She will be the expert witness who explains the system. The plan is to let Croft and his legal team walk confidently onto a stage they believe they have built, only to have Anaya calmly pull the lever that opens the trapdoor beneath their feet. This is where everything could flip. She is no longer just defending herself. She is preparing to prosecute the truth. The family courtroom is a small, tense theater of quiet warfare. Julian Croft sits at one table, flanked by Marcus Thorne and his team, the picture of aggrieved fatherhood. His ex-wife sits at the other, looking pale and distressed, with Sarah Everwood by her side. The air is thick with unspoken animosity. Croft's lawyer presents his case with practiced ease. He submits the paparazzi photograph of Anaya holding Leo. He submits the custody agreement, drawing the judge's attention to clause 11.4. He calls Anaya's actions a shocking dereliction of duty by a hired contractor, and paints a picture of a household in chaos, managed by a negligent mother who allows unvetted strangers to have unsupervised contact with her son. It is a compelling performance. The judge, a stern-faced woman in her 60s, looks troubled. Then Sarah Everwood calls her only witness, Anaya Mbogo. A murmur ripples through the courtroom as Anaya walks to the stand. She is not wearing a uniform. She is dressed in a simple, dark blue dress, her hair pulled back neatly. She looks not like a maid, but like a professional. She swears the oath, her voice clear and steady. Sarah begins her questioning. "Miss Mbogo, are you familiar with the household security and documentation systems?" "Yes," Anaya replies. "I designed and implemented them." Sarah then leads her through a calm, step-by-step explanation of the digital document server, the version control system, and the badge scanner logs. It is dry, technical, and utterly riveting. Then comes the moment. Sarah asks Thorne to provide the court with the official, time-stamped digital file of the custody agreement he had submitted as evidence. He complies, confident. Sarah projects it onto a large screen for the judge to see. "Your Honor," Sarah says, "please note the digital signature and filing timestamp Tuesday, 7:15 p.m. She then turns to Anaya. "Miss Mbogo, do you have the server logs you backed up?" "Yes, I do." Anaya produces a flash drive which is submitted as evidence. The logs are projected on the screen. "Please read the entry for the document named Custody Agreement Master," Sarah says. Anaya's voice is clear. "Document accessed and amended by user M. Thorne. Tuesday, 6:47 p.m. Note added, clause 11.4 inserted as per client directive." The judge leans forward, her eyes fixed on the screen. Marcus Thorne's face goes rigid. "And now for the final piece," Sarah says, her voice low. She holds up Anaya's laminated badge in an evidence bag. "Miss Mbogo, this badge. It logs your every movement in the residence, correct?" "Correct," Anaya says. "Please read the entry for your final scan in the nursery wing on that day." Anea looks at the projected logs. Anea Mbogo. Exit nursery wing. Tuesday, 3:21 p.m. Silence. The logic is inescapable. The clause was written 3.5 hours after the event it was supposedly meant to govern. Anea looks directly at Julian Croft. His face is a mask of disbelief. He is frozen, caught in the steel jaws of his own meticulously constructed lie. The system of rules he tried to use as a weapon has turned on him, and the woman he dismissed as a nobody has just become the architect of his defeat. Did you feel that shift? The entire gravity of the room just tilted. The quiet competence of one person just dismantled an empire of arrogance. The judge looks from the screen to Julian Croft, her expression one of utter contempt. The consequences are about to land. The fallout is swift and brutal. The judge dismisses Croft's custody petition with prejudice and orders a full investigation into the potential filing of fraudulent documents, a matter she refers to the district attorney's office. Marcus Thorne is captured by a courtroom sketch artist with his head in his hands. The tabloid narrative, once so favorable to Croft, flips overnight. He is no longer the concerned father, but the manipulative tycoon. In the aftermath, Croft's ex-wife, through Sarah Everwood, makes Anea an offer, a 7-figure financial settlement for defamation and wrongful termination, a chance to punish Croft in the language he understands best, money. It's a life-changing sum. It is what most people would consider justice. But Anea has seen the inner workings of this world. She knows that for a man like Croft, money is transactional. A lawsuit is just the cost of doing business. It wouldn't change anything. It wouldn't protect the next person he decides to crush. She meets with Sarah in her office. "I don't want his money," Anea says quietly. "I don't want to be tied to him or his family forever in a settlement. I want something better." "What does real justice look like here?" Sarah asks, intrigued. "Justice," Anea says, "is making sure this can't happen to anyone else, not just in his house, but in any house like it." Her proposal is not one of vengeance, but of reform. She doesn't want to destroy Julian Croft. She wants to change the system that enabled him. She asks for no money for herself. Instead, she demands the creation and funding of a new, independent domestic workers advocacy group. And for the Croft household itself, she proposes a radical change to the staff's terms of employment, a formal dignity clause. The clause would establish a staff review council, an elected body of household employees with the power to review, question, and ratify any new policy, protocol, or employment condition before it can be implemented. It would mandate transparent, dual-language documentation for all rules and give staff a formal, protected voice in their own governance. It is a proposal of soft justice. It is not about payback. It is about power, the redistribution of it from the top down to the foundation. Sarah Everwood looks at the proposal, a document Anea has already drafted with the same precision she applied to the security systems. The stakeholders, Croft, his ex-wife, their lawyers, are about to receive a demand they never could have anticipated. Faced with a brewing criminal investigation and a public relations nightmare, Julian Croft has no choice but to concede. The demand for an advocacy group is met with a quiet, multi-million-dollar endowment. The demand for the dignity clause is, after a week of tense negotiation, formally adopted into the Croft household's official employment manual. But the staff, empowered for the first time, take it a step further. At their first official meeting in the downstairs staff lounge, a room Anea once used for scheduling and inventory, they vote on the name for the new set of rules. It is a unanimous decision. It will not be called the Dignity Clause. It will be known, officially and forever, as the Anea Protocol. The protocol is specific and enforceable. Its key tenets are the rule of review. No new policy affecting staff welfare can be implemented without a 7-day review period and a majority ratification vote by the Staff Review Council. The rule of clarity. All employment documents, manuals, and policies must be provided in both English and Spanish, the two primary languages spoken by the staff, and vetted by a certified translator. The rule of representation. The Staff Review Council, consisting of 5 elected members, will have a formal, quarterly meeting with the household's business manager and a representative from the family to discuss concerns. Anea, who has been quietly reinstated during the negotiations, is unanimously elected as the first chairperson of the council. The change is not a vague promise. It is a structural, procedural shift in power. Resistance from the old guard of management is palpable, but the path has been opened. Would this change be enough in your workplace? The change has begun, and though the culture of the house will be slow to heal, the rules of the game have been irrevocably rewritten. 2 weeks later, Anea is sitting on a bench in Central Park, watching autumn leaves drift down from the trees. The noise of the past month has finally started to recede. She has received no public parades, no grand apologies from Julian Croft. Her victory was quiet, systemic, and largely invisible to the outside world. She hears a small voice call her name. Anea. Leo is standing a few feet away, holding his mother's hand. He looks different, less haunted, his shoulders a little less tense. He gives her a shy, hesitant smile. His mother, a woman Anea had only ever seen in couture gowns and a state of high stress, looks at her with an expression of profound, unvarnished gratitude. "We wanted to see you," she says simply. "Away from all of that." Leo lets go of his mother's hand and walks to the bench. He doesn't say anything. He just leans against Anea's side, a simple, trusting gesture that speaks more than any words could. Anea puts her arm around him, and he rests his head on her shoulder, just as he did that day in the playroom. "Thank you," his mother says, her voice thick with emotion. "You didn't just save me in that courtroom. You showed him what it means to be brave and quiet at the same time. You showed me." This is the real victory. Not the legal clauses or the public vindication, but this quiet moment of human connection. It is the restoration of her dignity, not by a crowd, but by the two people whose lives she inadvertently changed, whose voice helped you heal when no one clapped. In the quiet of the park, surrounded by the gentle rhythm of the city, Anea feels a sense of peace settle over her. She has reclaimed not just her job or her reputation, but her own definition of self. She is not a maid, not a supervisor, not a witness. She is Anea, and that is enough. The press release from the Croft Foundation is a carefully worded masterpiece of corporate damage control. It announces the formation of a new $10 million grant fund called the Dignity in Domestic Work Project. It will provide funding to nonprofits that offer legal aid, advocacy, and support for household staff across the country. Deep in the third paragraph is the line that matters. This initiative was inspired by recent internal reforms at the Croft family's private holdings, specifically the implementation of the Anea Protocol, a groundbreaking governance model that ensures a fair and equitable voice for all staff. Anea is not asked to stand on a stage. She is not offered a board seat on the foundation. Her photo does not appear in the press, and for that she is grateful. The recognition is focused squarely on the work, on the system she created, not on her as a personality. It avoids the tired trope of the heroic savior. It is recognition done right. Agree. The impact is immediate. News articles are written not about her, but about the protocol itself. Labor activists and legal scholars praise it as a new model for domestic employment contracts. Her specific, competent solution has become a template for others. Her quiet act of self-defense has opened a door for thousands of people she will never meet, people who work in the invisible spaces of power and who, for too long, have had no voice at all. It is a gray Tuesday morning, months later. Anea is conducting an orientation for a new group of household staff. They are gathered in the staff lounge, the atmosphere professional and respectful. She stands before them, no longer just a supervisor but a leader. She opens a heavy box and begins to pass out their new employee identification cards. She hands one to a young woman, a new housekeeper. The young woman looks at it, a smile spreading across her face. The cards are no longer cheap, flimsy plastic with the word visitor printed at the top. They are professional, hard plastic IDs. They feature the employee's color photograph, their full name, and their official title. In the bottom corner is a small, embossed logo of a stylized key, the emblem of the new staff council. Anea holds up her own card. It reads, Anea Mbogo, head of household operations and council chair. "We are not visitors here," Anea says, her voice quiet but resonant, filling the room. "This is our workplace. We maintain it. We protect it. We are the foundation." The bent, laminated badge that Marcus Thorne had laid on the table, the symbol of her disposability, is now gone. In its place is this new symbol, an emblem of permanence, dignity, and shared ownership. Did the object's meaning change for you too? The symbol of her misjudgment has become the very proof of her legacy. She is ready for the future, a future she built not just for herself but for all of them. The final scene is one of quiet, unassuming power. It is late. The penthouse is silent. Anea is doing her final walkthrough, the rhythmic click of her shoes on the marble a familiar, comforting sound. She pauses in the main staff corridor, a space the family never sees. On the wall is a large cork bulletin board. It used to be a chaotic mess of schedules, memos, and forgotten notices. Now, it is neat, organized, a center of communication and community. In the very center, protected by a simple black frame, is a printed, laminated copy of the Anea Protocol. Its clauses are clearly laid out in English and Spanish. Around it are photographs. Not the staged, smiling photos of a corporate brochure, but candid snapshots taken by the staff themselves. The kitchen team laughing during a break, the groundskeepers posing with a prize-winning orchid, the junior housekeepers celebrating a birthday with a small cake. In each photo, the staff are wearing their new professional IDs. They are not hiding them. They are wearing them with pride. This is her legacy. Not a plaque with her name on it, not a newspaper headline, but this wall, this quiet, tangible evidence of a workplace transformed. It is a culture of respect made visible, a system of dignity made real. Sometimes justice arrives without applause. It arrives as a new set of rules, a shared understanding, a quiet sense of safety where there once was fear. Anea touches the corner of the frame holding the protocol. She allows herself a small, brief smile. Then she turns, switches off the corridor light and walks toward the exit, leaving the room and the people within it changed.